What is up? Welcome to the NBA Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Spread Astaire, joined today by Travis Mangone. And Travis, when we're betting and doing DFS for the NBA, we got to check the injury reports. I checked it today. Our guy Tyler, he's off. He hit the report, unable to play. So I'll get with him and check on him. But he's at the dentist having some hard times right now, so he was not able to make the show today. But fortunately, you and I, right? We enjoy talking basketball. We have no problem filling up the airwaves, so I think we're still going to be able to provide the people with a good show today. How are you doing? I saw you on this morning with AP, so we get to rehash these same games, right?
Yeah, I definitely have hashed these a little bit. Not the greatest card for like a playoff card. I think there's better, you would obviously want some better games, but we'll talk about it. DFS wise, we could talk about as well. Betting. Don't feel like you have to bet every single game on the board as well, but should be a good time.
All right. Well, let's start with some thoughts from last night, right? Because we got a little extra time. Philly absolutely smashed, but I'll be honest, I think the injury to Scotty Barnes and really was the huge one, and then Gary Trent weakened them even further. So as good as Philadelphia looks, I'm not really sure what to make of that series because I really thought that Scotty Barnes was the X factor there. And last week when we were doing these previews, he was one of the big reasons and kind of an X factor that I was hyping up to really be able to swing the series. Without him, right, they just don't have that wing dominance. They don't have that athleticism to really trouble the 76ers. What did you think of that game last night? Is it just bad luck for the Raptors, or do they get back on track tomorrow night? What do you think?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident the Raptors are dead. It's just like the injuries are too much to overcome, right? It's a lot. Raptors definitely, I don't feel great about them. If you were a Raptors backer, which I was kind of on the side of, hey, you could bet the Nets and you could bet the Raptors and feel like you get one home.
Yep.
Sixers just look too good, like right. Like I think they're coming out of the Eastern Conference like top region, right? Like they're going to make it to the finals. I think for Eastern Conference, I think they're going to be in the top four. You know me, I'm not big on the Heat, so I feel pretty confident saying that. At least the Sixers, I think they'll make it to the top four. I thought they looked a lot better than I thought they might, so definitely was impressed with them. The other games last night, the Jazz and the Mavericks, that's another game. Like, man, like if Luka's in, I think the Mavericks have it, but I don't know if like what they did yesterday was sustainable, right? Shooting 47% on 47 shots. I mean,
Well, the only reason I'd say it was sustainable is there's no one in sight. It's not like they're making tough shots. I mean,
fair,
it looked
but
like
here's
warm ups on certain of them.
it's fair, but here's the argument spread. One, I think the Jazz will make some adjustments. Like, I don't know why Conley's out there. Clarkson should be out there instead. Not even saying Clarkson's that great of a defender, but I think that's helps you because then offensively, you can go back to what you were doing, attacking Bertans and Maxey with your guards like they did in the first half. I mean, if you're doing that, you can wear them out on the other end. That way, they're not able to maybe hit those shots as easily. Also, if the game's in Utah, it's a little harder to hit shots on the road spread. I think people forget that sometimes. It's not like you're playing in the same building, crowd's not on your side. So that's definitely an interesting aspect. I do think a lot hinges on Luka for me. I mean, it's just like I think he's kind of like a swing vote, depending on what happens.
All right. Yeah, I enjoy your work pointing out you are the hardest working man in show business,
Well, only on Tuesdays, spread. Tuesday's the
but
day. I got three shows, so we got to grind on Tuesday, maybe tomorrow too, because I have the bet show as well. So Tuesdays
yeah.
and Wednesdays are some work for old Mangone here. But we got baseball show today at 4:45. Should mention that Joey Work's been giving winners. Dunkel and Allie, I saw they did a video the other day. They brought some winners. So if you're a sports person, I don't know why you haven't subscribed to the channel or liked this video. We appreciate it a ton if you guys do that.
Well, I'm glad you're working hard because you're in a little bit of debt after yesterday, right? Our guy Glaucoma.
No,
Did you
did
guys
Glock
have
tell
a
you
friend?
about that?
Of course he did. Of
No.
course he did. I got a message right before we went on. They had to make sure to ask you about it. So, boy,
Yeah, I had.
how does it feel to lose a bet to the fastest rising star in DFS?
Yeah, I lost. So this is what happened. I lost a bet to. I lost it to a couple people. So those are the guys I actually bet the Hawks Knicks last year against. So like,
Yeah.
they just. I, I spread. So here, I'll ask you a question. I want an impartial. And you obviously don't have any like vested interest on a side. Do I feel like I was on the this is the worst thing to say. I think I was on the right side regardless, right? Do you think I was on the right side or the wrong side even after the loss? Because I'm telling you, 47% from three on 47 shots is insane. Like I was baffled they weren't playing defense. It like literally frustrated me so much watching. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm
Yeah,
curious
see,
to get
because
an
I'm
outsider's
on the
take.
opposite side here, right? I have the Mavericks to win the series. Gave out the Mavericks as the best bet yesterday, and I felt that in game one, I had the Mavericks plus 5.5. Felt like I was on the right side too. So maybe this is a series where it feels every bettor gets to feel they're on the right side no matter what. But my thing was they were just clanking wide open threes when they lost game one. I said these are going to go down, right? I mean, like you watch that and then you compare it to like what Kevin Durant and the Nets are having to shoot through with a hand in their face every single time. The point of attack defense for the Utah Jazz is probably the worst of any of the playoff teams remaining. I mean, maybe your shirt, the Atlanta Hawks are up there too, but boy, I mean, this team, other than Rudy stopping in the middle, they're not giving a lot of resistance here. So
Let me ask you one question, Frank. I'm curious because this was my lean when I first saw this series. Before I knew all the Luka news, I thought the Mavs, even with Luka doubtful, or not doubtful, but just like we didn't know his status and it was uncertain. I thought the Mavs at plus money was the move from like early on. And then I read he was like out of game one, and I didn't know he was for sure out game one. And it started sounding worse. And then I was concerned. When did you make this Mavs series bet? Like, are you on them? Like,
yeah,
are
I'm
you
on the sheet. I'm on the sheet before it started. Before
Okay,
game one.
so what was this before the Luka news, or like when was
Yeah,
this?
before the Luka news. So I knew Luka was out, but my idea was I'm getting plus 240 or whatever it is. I can't
Yeah,
remember off the top of my head, but it's more than plus 200. And if all I needed to do was split these game ones, right? Now, if he comes back, I expect to split in Utah. Now I'm coming home to Dallas. I got 2 out of the last 3, and I'm hopefully have Luka Doncic back. So my
yeah,
idea was that he would be able to come back healthy with the series on the line, and I just need Dallas to keep it alive going into this.
yeah. I guess the one thing I didn't know was I was a little more worried about the injury. So you it sounds like you read this a lot better than I did. I'm not with I know Big T was all over the minus 300 on the Jazz, just like put it in a bunch of different things. I just couldn't get behind that. That was where I struggled a little bit. But yeah, it's gonna be the first game wasn't great. Last night was kind of fun. I think the series will be interesting, and there's just so many series that have like guys injured that like I'm like waiting for guys to come back or like waiting to see what happens, which is kind of frustrating. Typically, first rounds aren't like that. So I think betting wise, the second round is going to be a little more profitable, and I feel like I'll be able to take more stands on stuff just because there's a lot of uncertainty in this first round. It's been kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the season's too long and we've run these guys into the ground, but we won't go there. What did you think of the Nuggets and the Warriors? To me, it's like, is this going to be a 4-1 or is it going to be a sweep? I mean, that's what I'm asking right now. Do the Nuggets get that game 3 and then the Warriors win it at home, or are the Warriors going to take this in 4? I mean, boy, we talked about it yesterday, and I felt like our handicap was dead on. Jokic, are you best player on the floor? But the Warriors got the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. Where does Aaron Gordon come in, right? To be the seventh best player on the floor? Too much for him to overcome. But once they get back at home, do things change? Friendlier whistle. The Nuggets win a game?
Gosh, I hope can Jokic get a friendly whistle just one game so like we can move on from this because it is getting old. But yeah, I think this series. I mean, I think the series is just over, right? It's a 4 hours at 4-1. I think it's pretty simple. I'm trying to grab some tickets maybe to one of the games, at least like a game 3 or 4. That'd be fun to go to just to see this team. I don't know what we're calling them now. I saw DEF CON lineup. I just want to call them the Splash Brothers. Like
I like the pool party. That's my favorite one.
the pool party's pretty good. I haven't heard that one. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't mind that. It's definitely going to be fun though to watch this Warriors team. I like I didn't know how good they would be until like I wanted to see what happened in the playoffs. I feel good about them kind of like running into the Suns now. Like I think that's going to be it. Like I still want to see what the Grizzlies kind of do tonight. I want to see what they give me here. I'm very curious to see like how they play this series with Steven Adams. I'm curious to see how they adjust because like they can't go down 2-0, right? Like this is kind of a must win for the Grizzlies.
It is.
Doesn't that feel
Yeah.
that way?
Yeah. I would agree with you, and we'll get to that one. But before we do, I got to ask you just one more question about the things that we've seen. So obviously, the most entertaining game involved your favorite team, and they're not on the schedule today. But I'm just curious to how you see tomorrow night's game going with the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. I'll tell you what, man, I was so impressed by the defense that both Jason Tatum and Al Horford were able to play on Kevin Durant. They kept him in front of him the whole time. And Al Horford just kind of let him lay off and shoot over him. but it felt like Tatum had like the perfect shot contest almost every single time where it bothered Durant's shot, but not enough to where he could get drawn into a foul. It was just, I mean, boy, I'll tell you what, I knew Tatum was a good defender, but I mean, he looked like elite against Durant. So I don't know, is that a one-game performance? Is it an off night? Is KD bounce back? Or has Jason Tatum found the kryptonite for Kevin Durant? Because it doesn't look like he can get around him. He's been shooting over everyone.
KD will get his, right? But like, how difficult will Tatum make it? I think that's the key. On top of that, like, can we talk about, there was a possession late in the game, right? I don't know if you remember it. Kyrie was dribbling, right, and trying to find like a way to get a bucket in like 24 seconds and like a minute left. And you felt like Kyrie was just getting whatever he wanted. And there was like a really late possession where he used the whole clock, missed his shot, then they got the rebound and kicked it back to Durant, and they defended him as well. And it's one of those things where, like, I remember watching, and maybe it wasn't off of a rebound. Maybe Kyrie passed it out, and then KD had 5 seconds.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And KD could not get around him, and he couldn't even get the space. Like, Tatum's like, you can't get around me, so I'm going to play you close. My contest is going straight up, so you're not going to do that hard in where you bait me. It was literally perfect defense with the game on the line. Wow.
Do you want to know what was more? You know what I was most impressed with by that game? Of course, maybe like, I mean, a lot of people obviously saw it, the final shot. The most impressive thing was Marcus Smart's patience.
Exactly. Did you read the article I'm about to send it? I wrote that. His waiting. Old Marcus Smart jacks that up, right?
Yeah, more than likely he puts that up. Yep. To be able to have the patience, like, that just shows the basketball IQ is like through the roof right now. And the one thing with this team that I think people forget, and like we talked about this in the Discord chat spread today, like I'll bring it up just because we talked about it a ton. People are saying if Kawhi was on the Clippers would be the favorite to win the West. And here's the thing, the experience of playing with the same dudes over and over, it's like invaluable, especially when it's at the top tier and the difference between the players is so close. It's so tight. Like, this Celtics team, you know what they feel like, Spread? They feel like last year's Suns team. Remember last year's Suns team? Everyone was like, oh, this team's fraudulent. They suck. They're not that good. And their defense was great. They had all these guys that they got some young, talented players that just keep getting better. They got some older guys that everyone think is just washed, right? And they're playing good basketball. And listen, I'm someone I like the Nets at the plus money. I'm a little more nervous. I want to know what Robert Williams' status is for sure.
I don't think he'll be back this series. I think the earliest will be round 2.
They said he would be back for game 5 or 6, possibly.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I saw one article, right? Like, I don't know if that's true, but the point I'm getting at is I think this series is a dogfight. Like, I think it's going, and my camera keeps messing up, so sorry about that. I'm trying to fix it. But I think this series goes 6 or 7. I really do. It's going to be fun to watch, but don't sleep on the Celtics if they do beat this Nets team, right? Like, they really do remind me of the Suns of last year. Everyone wants to doubt them. Everyone thought the Suns, even myself, I got scared to bet the Suns in the first round against the Lakers. I think everyone probably feels the same thing about the Celtics, but this team has really good defense, guys who have played together for a while, and talented guys that are just getting better. And I think sometimes we have trouble getting off some of these guys that we've watched for years and years. I think it's a struggle. I'm sure, Spread, like, you're older than me, right? You've gone through and watched basketball. I'm not doing it to disrespect you, but
no, I appreciate it.
The experience of being able to like watch these guys. Like, you understand at some point, like Tracy McGrady falls off, right? Yeah. Like, at some point, you're not gonna be able to watch these guys play like they used to, At some point, Chris Webber is just not that guy anymore. So it's just one of those things that you see happen. And I'm not saying it's happening here with the Nets. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but I think we definitely have trouble adjusting to guys getting better, like Tatum. How do we not put Tatum as like a top star in the league? Like, where would you list him? Like, if you started listing stars' names, right? You kept going through the list. Guys would just be listing all these guys before Tatum. And you know what? Tatum might be better than some of those.
He's in top 10 now after that last performance, what I saw him do. And we'll see. If Durant just drops 50 on him tonight, I can rescind that, or tomorrow night. But yeah. Hey, but my worry about that Suns analogy, though, is it going to be like the Suns where they have no answer for Giannis? Because that's the probable round 2. And he's that one guy that I just don't know if anyone has an answer for this guy. He's so big.
There's one answer, Spread. You know who the answer is, right? Coach Bud gets in the team's way because he's a donkey.
Well, he didn't last year. And I love the fact.
Did you see what he already did? He already made one huge mistake. He left Giannis out for an entire minute.
Who cares? You know what? For them, this is a regular season series. They're literally treating this like regular season. They're like, why run my guys into the ground? We can beat the Bulls at half price.
I mean,
You know,
unless Mike Budenholzer is the greatest troll ever, he said that he was rewarding Bobby Portis for his defensive possessions and wanted to make sure Giannis wouldn't get attacked when they're down 3. The Bulls are not attacking Giannis down 3. They're looking for an open 3-point.
what, didn't Giannis have 5 fouls?
Yeah, I mean,
That's what he was worried about. Yeah.
oh yeah, he's worried. Yeah, imagine worrying about that though. There's a minute 20 left in the game, and you're worrying about that.
I mean, I guess he was, but like I said, to them, this is a regular season series. Everyone else is in playoff mode. The Bucks are just like, oh, cool, another night against a team that's not going to give us any resistance on the defensive end, and we can shoot like crap and still beat this team, right? I mean, they shot terribly, and at no point did you ever feel like the Bulls were going to win the game.
Of course. Yeah, I agree with you on that. The other thing too to mention is like, I think one thing that people like are thinking with the Celtics, like, and I kind of have this in the back of my mind, well, if it goes 7 or 6, like will Kyrie or like KD just like pop off and have a big game? Like same with the other side, right? Giannis in game 7. Do you want to bet against that? Not exactly, but again, it's all going to count on Tatum showing like I'm a top 5 player. It's him like literally just like laying it on the table and saying I'm one of the best in the world and rising up. I mean, stars are born in the postseason. We see it all the time. And I don't want to doubt that it can't happen. You know what I mean? This series is like seriously the best one to watch. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I hate that it's one of those games where spread, I don't think you have to put money on the game and you could have a blast watching it. Like, and
yeah, for sure. I'm sure we'll put money on it anyways.
Right.
But yeah. And I'll tell you what, the Celtics reward for facing the Nets in this first round is if it does go 7 against Milwaukee, it's in Boston. So, like everyone going, oh, they're so smart for playing the Bulls. Are they going to be smart if it's 3-3 in the second round, right? And they got to go to Boston instead of having it in Milwaukee. So, yeah, I know they escaped in Brooklyn last year, but that's because, I know we got on Coach Bud, but Steve Nash did the exact opposite and said, oh, KD, don't worry about taking a break. And the guy was a zombie in overtime, right? Because he played all 48 minutes and ran the offense the whole time. So there is balance here.
He was tired. You're 100% right about that. So that's a good point to bring up.
So, this is just fantastic, though. The way that the East has just shaped up, and this little Warriors emergence, I think, has made the West a lot easier because last week when we did the playoff show, the preview shows, right, we're just kind of like, oh, Suns, like Grizzlies don't have the experience, Warriors aren't there. But boy, this Warriors team firing on all cylinders. I really think they can give Phoenix some issues. So I'm so excited about these playoffs continuing. So anything more from the past? Are you ready to jump into today's?
No, I mean, one thing I'll mention, I'm typing in the chat too. We the people say you'd rather have money on games. Yes, so would I. I agree. And I do in DFS so pretty much every night. So I obviously have it that way. One thing betting wise, like I would just be taking the plus money like almost every time in this series. Like I really think it's such a coin flip. Maybe it's a cop-out answer. I'm not sure, but man, it is just like, it is such a tough one to figure out. And I think the Ben Simmons thing is interesting. So that's another one to add in as well. That's going to make it really, really exciting. And the Warriors emergence is awesome too. And I can't wait to see what happens tonight with the Grizzlies and Timberwolves. That's another one I see the chat talking about. We'll obviously get to, but that's another one. Like I want to see how the Grizzlies answer because I was someone that I was backing the Grizzlies throughout the year and like, I could be wrong. Like if the Timberwolves win this game and it sucks because they're a team I wanted to back and I hated that these two ran into each other. But like I could be sitting here just looking like a moron if the Grizzlies are down 2-0 and be like, I might be wrong. Like, what do you think with the Grizzlies? I know we haven't gotten into that game too much, but like, do you feel like any type of confidence in them tonight, Spread?
Yeah, let's just go out of order. Let's start with that one.
Yeah, I think that's the best game to talk about. So
all right, let's do it. Minnesota Timberwolves plus 6.5 in Memphis, taking on the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies got blown out in game 1. I think it was 131 to 117 or 114. Don't know the number off the top of my head, but total of 240 here. It was high as 241 earlier. Remember, this opened at 235 for game 1, plus 228 for the Grizzlies. The Timberwolves to take that commanding lead. And then, so you asked the question here, and I think this series really comes down to one thing. Will Anthony Edwards continue to be the best player on the floor? And as a DFS player, a lot of times those Anthony Edwards 60-point nights, 70-point fantasy nights, what are they followed up with? A 28, a 36, right?
He's a different breed now. He's learned. Like stars are born in the playoff Spread. The worst part about this is I love Ant. He's like literally one of my favorites.
I love him too. Like I'm going to be on the Grizzlies tonight, and I'm going to be happy if I lose.
That's all I
know,
feel
really,
too.
because I like him so much better. He's like one of my favorite players.
I know. I feel that way too. It's like so dumb, but it's like it's weird how I feel because I mean I want Ant to thrive so much, and I think that's who like brings him home, right? Like Ant just has to be that guy. Of course, D-Russ can have big games too, but I definitely think Ant has to be like the hero, has to be the guy to close out, right? Like when Wade finally told LeBron this is your team. I think Cat has to be like, hey Ant, this is your team to like close.
I don't think he needs to be told that. The dude's going on ESPN talking about I'm the best defender in the NBA. I mean, this kid, if there's anything he's not lacking for, it's confidence. I mean, I wish if he bottled it up and sold it, I would go buy it.
Have you heard
so overconfident?
Have you heard what Ant Edwards' dog is named?
Anthony Edwards Jr. or something?
Yeah, do you know why it's named Anthony Edwards Jr.?
Hit the punchline. I'll ruin it.
He said his name is Anthony Edwards Jr. And the reason why is because Anthony Edwards Jr. is just like Ant Edwards. He can do it all.
I mean, seriously, like after I heard his very first interview and it came off like a WWE promo, I was like, I'm sold. This is my guy right here. Like, full on heel. Like,
I need him to come out with like kind of like Tom Brady, come out with like a hat where it's like the AE whatever. Like I need a brand. I need a logo of Ant Edwards, and I will buy all the merchandise. Like take my money. I'm in, Ant. If you are listening, I will buy all of the merchandise. So should be a lot of fun to watch this game, though. I see people in the chat saying they're going to take Timberwolves +7.
It seems to be the popular one in the chat.
Yeah, I'm very torn on how to approach it. Let's talk about how this game goes, right? Like, do you think the Grizzlies have a counter move? Obviously, like basketball can turn into chess sometimes, right? Where like you see one thing happen, then the team does the other. We saw that with the Clippers, right? The Zubac thing wasn't working, so then they went to small ball. Obviously, it didn't win them the game, but it clearly brought them back in, and it clearly was the correct move. Do you think, and this is my thought process, I don't know if it can work, but I don't think the Steven Adams thing is it. I think you start with Steven Adams, you give him like, some minutes, but I think you want to put Jaren Jackson at the 5. Kyle Anderson, I guess at the 4, and then go Brooks Bain with Ja. I think that's the most ideal closing lineup that makes the most sense. And then I think you want Jaren Jackson to, if I'm the coach, I say, do not foul anyone for 4 minutes, 5 minutes to start the game.
Oh, I'm sure they've been telling that since his first game in the
I
NBA,
know, but
right?
I would literally say, like, Jaren, this is so important because we need you late in the game. So we need you for 4 or 5 minutes, pull him off the court, let Adams play for another, like, 4 or 5 minutes, and then you switch Jaren in at the 5, and then you start kind of staggering those two with the big man lineup. I think that's the best way to handle this team. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but that's what I would do if I was the Memphis coach. I don't know what else to do because they look so good. And like the Timberwolves also have McDaniels. And like, I think it's more of a McDaniels series over a Vanderbilt series. I'm curious your take on that. I don't know if that's being biased, but like of just seeing like 1 or 2 games, but I just don't see how it's not more of a McDaniel series than a Vanderbilt series at this point.
Because I think Vanderbilt's the linchpin of the defensive effort, and I think that Patrick Beverley, he tricked us all, and he's running around. I mean, obviously he's doing great,
but he hasn't looked good in the playoffs so far.
But on the defensive end, he's been fine, and that's what they need him for.
When
you have these elite scorers that can score regardless of how many people are on them, because both Cat and Ant can beat a double team. So even if you don't want to cover Vanderbilt, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I don't think it's as much of a Vanderbilt series. I think it's just running too fast for him to deal with. I think you want the McDaniels route. That's how I feel. I mean, maybe I end up being wrong on it.
We'll see. I'm just going off of this whole year, but as much attention as Patrick Beverley gets for being the heart of the defense, it really feels to me like Jared Vanderbilt's the glue that made it all go. And then when he missed time, I mean, this team was giving up so many points.
One thing to mention in the chat, someone said Clark. Why not start Clark with?
Yeah, that's we the people.
I don't think that works. I think it's
I think you close with Clark though.
I wouldn't hate closing with Clark. I definitely wouldn't mind it. I don't think it's necessary, but I don't mind it. I think you can do it. I mean, I'm curious to see if like Brooks and Bain can rise up a little bit. Like it did feel like when I was watching that game too. At least like while watching it, it felt like it was too. I'm trying to think of the word for it, but definitely felt more like regular season basketball. I wanted to see a little more intensity, and I wanted to see like Memphis. Like, do you remember when they played the Jazz? And I know Jazz are a different type of team where like Memphis really grinded them out. That's kind of what I wanted to see. Like, I want to see like Ja really get into that half court and just not try and just run run and gun. I want to see them slow the tempo down. Use those defenders. Like, I want to see Ja try and break down the Timberwolves. And then if that doesn't work, then you switch it over to a Dylan Brooks who can get the job done, right? And just like keep switching. I think that would be what I want to see. I want to see Memphis slow the game down if they win this game. Do you agree that that's the approach they should take?
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. I mean, they had too much of a regular season feel. And then, it came down to the old argument of rest versus rust. I felt the Memphis Grizzlies team came out rusty. I think they came out with a regular season attitude against a team that had just played a hard fought game against the Los Angeles Clippers and was built up there and ready to go. And Patrick Beverley, as much as I kind of like discount like that, I think he's a little bit overrated for his on court contributions to the team. I think in that locker room, it's understated how much this guy is getting these guys ready to go. I'll bet you he's got them focused tonight. I don't think that he's in there like, oh, it's cool, we're going to get the split, right? I mean, I think he's letting them know like, hey, guys, this is our chance. We can really win this series tonight. Like, this is our chance for that knockout blow. Like, we got him on the ropes. So, I do agree with you. They need to slow down. They need to make this a physical game. They got the strongest guy on the court. I mean, Steven Adams could bench press Karl Anthony Towns, move him wherever he wants. He needs to really inflict, his size and physicality upon Cat, make him uncomfortable, because we know Cat likes to play like a guard. He wants to be outside, right? That's why I think you start with Adams, because the thing is, you can ditch him at any time.
Yes. Well, of course, I agree with starting with Adams. If you want to like kind of wear down Cat, I don't hate that approach. The reason why I like the small ball stuff a little bit more, and that the problem is, spread, that can lead to a lot of up and down running up the floor, which I don't like for them. And the reason I want them to go more small is that gives Ja open space, right? Like, that gives him the ability to get in there and get the job done. I think Jaren Jackson can perfectly, fine, set those screens. You can use Clark to do that. I just don't love the Adams look. But then again, if you want those screens for it, that's fine. But then you get the pick and pop action that you can kind of get in there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all shakes out. DFS wise, I want to talk about a couple things, because there's some really inefficient, I shouldn't say inefficient pricing, but there's some values, it feels like, throughout this game. And by value, sometimes in the playoffs, when you have 3-game slates, we don't have 3K values, right? We don't have these easy 4K plug and plays. So we have to talk about some mid-tier guys that feel like more values. And Desmond Bane at 6'4" on DraftKings, where he was previously 7'1", that feels like a pretty good value. You also get him at home, which I think getting Desmond Bane at home is nice because he's a jump shooter. I like getting jump shooters at home, right? I think Duncan Robinson was a good example of that last game. I want him at home more likely than on the road when it comes to playoffs, just because that's just how jump shooters are. I think Dylan Brooks at 6'2", another good play. I think Jaren Jackson at 6'5", if he's not going to have a lot of ownership, I think he has a really nice ceiling on this slate. And then there's not a lot of studs to pay for. And if no one is going to go up to Ja Morant, I don't mind it. It's a 240.5 total. I haven't ran a ton of DFS stuff yet, but I think all four of those guys are certainly in play and interesting options on this slate. On the Timberwolves side, I think my favorite play is D'Angelo Russell. I don't see myself going to
That's an interesting pivot. Now, why are we going there? Of the 3 stars, obviously Russell had the weakest game in game 1. Is that a contrarian option, or did you see something in that game that you think he's going to be able to do better in this game?
It's more, I think, probably going to be an ownership thing. Now, I have to run stuff, right? If you run stuff on your end and you see D-Russ popping way more than Ant, then that could obviously be a reason to maybe not get as excited about D-Russ. But I assume that D-Russ might not pop as much. And one reason why he might not pop as much is I think Desmond Bane is going to pop a lot, right? At that shooting guard position. That's someone that I think could gain some ownership. I think some of these Hawks guys are going to pop a little bit because their price tags are just really cheap. And projection-wise, I think they're going to gather some ownership. So I think that's kind of some of my thought process behind that. I do think D-Russ can definitely have a big game. He looked great against them, against the Grizzlies too. And I think one thing that they're going to do, I think they're going to be okay with letting him have the ball in his hands more than Ant. I think they're going to try and frustrate Ant a little bit. And I think that makes a lot of sense if you are the Grizzlies. I think that's what you want to do. So ultimately, I think that D-Russ at 7-1 is my favorite one. I'm not super excited about Cap, but ownership matters, right? If any stud is 5% on a 3-game slate, which I doubt it'll be 5, but the point I'm getting at is if there's one guy that's 60% and then there's one that's 15, right? Does Cat have a 3 times difference of outperforming or does Ja have a 3 times difference of outperforming Cat? No, I think Cat would be a better play than at that point. I think ownership is going to dictate a lot with these stars at the top and getting unique and different. Like, how many people are signing up to play Trae Young tonight after his 8-point performance? And now he's still on the road and he's against the Heat. Like, there just are some interesting contrarian options at the top that I think you could take some shots on tonight. So I want to know what the like chalk guys at the top are going to be. And then I think maybe make some pivots up there, just because we don't have a Giannis or a KD or a Jokic or Embiid on this slate that I'm in love with, where I think I just prefer the contrarian pieces at the top. And that's kind of my thought process right now.
Yeah, and we'll get into that Trae Young because I think he's an interesting option there, right?
Yeah.
Only 8 points, but that was his first single-digit playoff game of his career, coming off a 35-point game in Miami in April. So,
and one more thing to mention, Spread, I want to say this. I think for value, it's not amazing today, but like Beverly, I think is in play. And then like, don't sleep on McDaniels, or if you still like Vanderbilt, right? 3-9. People are going to be sour on his performance from last time. If you think it's still more of a Vanderbilt game, I don't think it's a bad idea to go to him. I think one of Vanderbilt or McDaniels is interesting. I understand maybe going to Malik Beasley, but off of like kind of a nice shooting performance and on the road, I'm not as excited to jump on Beasley. I think I really like the look that McDaniels gives them. And I'm going to look for coach quotes before the game. I know that Taurean Prince is going to be back, so maybe that could cut into some guys too. I'm not saying to load up on Taurean Prince or anything, but I do think that there's more guys there that can kind of cut into a Vanderbilt. That gets me a little concerned. And if people don't go back to McDaniels, then I like the idea of going back to him, because I really think this could be a series that he plays more.
All right. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, from a DFS perspective, McDaniels might be the better option rather than Vanderbilt. I just think that Vanderbilt's going to be so necessary for that defense, because to me, here's the key to the game. And you know, it sucks because I'm reading the chat, right? And you know, I love the chat. I love the support they give us every day, right? Liking the show, retweeting the show, sharing it with their friends, all that great stuff. But most of them are on the Timberwolves here, and I'm just not there yet. I think if you fix that first quarter, you don't give up 41 points in the first quarter, right? Because you came out kind of laissez-faire. You weren't ready. You got popped in the mouth, right? You were kind of swaggering, kind of popping off, right? Like the guy after 2 drinks at the gym, at the bar, right? And then, you know, the guy coming from the gym pops you in your mouth and you kind of wake up. Well, wait a second. Where am I? Right? I kind of think that's what we get here with the Grizzlies tonight. And hey, you know, if I'm wrong, you know, this series could be over. But, you know, we had a great series last year when the Nets played the Bucks. We had a great game 7, actually. The first 6 weren't that good. Could this series have that kind of feel? I kind of think so tonight. Even after the Timberwolves blew them out in game 1, I could see the Grizzlies bouncing back with a blowout here too. And before we talk about, before we move on to the other games, I have to ask you, for my handicap to be correct, there has to be a regression from either Towns or Edwards. Who do you think is more likely to kind of fall back and not have that outstanding performance? Of course, Edwards with 36 and Cat with 29 and 13 in the last game.
Yeah, who's the guy that bounced back? Or not bounce back, but
kind of regress or not, or you know, not be able to follow up that great performance.
My lean is kind of Cat, like, because I'm not a big believer in Cat in the playoffs. And I mean, maybe he proves me wrong, but that's my lean. But I think either one of them regresses, that could obviously hurt. Obviously, D-Russ can then regress the other way because he was horrible in his game. So this game is going to be fun to watch. And one thing I want to call it in the chat, just like, this is all I want to say. You know, people are talking about Trae. No Trae for me. Jimmy shuts that man down every time. The question isn't.
No, he doesn't. He averaged 25.5 points against them during the season.
Yeah, but the question, here's the thing, Fred. The question isn't no Trae. Everyone has a price, right? So, like, if I told you Trae Young is 5%, okay, and Ja Morant is 50%, you really are going to sit here and tell me you'd rather play a 50% Ja over 5% Trae? Now, I don't think that's the ownership. I really don't. What I looked at right now, I see a 50 versus a 25. I don't think that's correct. I think it's going to be more of maybe a 55 to like more of like a 15, or like maybe a 50 to a 50. Like, I think it's gonna be like a 3 times difference. Like, I think Ja is gonna have a 3 times difference over Trae. Now, depending on the way that you build out your full lineup, the entire thing, if you have all these, like, you know, 50% guys on your team, are you gonna load in another 50% Ja, or are you gonna go with the Trae Young? I also think correlation matters too. Let's say that you have no Hawks, and then you have like 3 or 4 Heat guys. Well, is there a route where if you load up on the Heat, Trae Young is the reason they're in the game and he's keeping them around? Of course there is. Everyone was counting Trae Young like he was dead against the Cavs, and they ended up getting the job done. I mean, yes, a different situation, easier guys to pick on. But the point I'm getting at is I don't care about, oh, it's definitely this guy over this guy. I want to know at least the price difference. Like, if you think a guy is going to be way lower owned, then he's got to be in play at the top as a differentiation piece. We're on a 3-game slate. Yes, we're talking basketball and we're talking matchups, but game theory matters too a little bit. You have to think about that some. I mean, spread. Let's say you have two, you do tennis, DFS. You have two top DFS tennis players in the world. One is 60% owned and one is 20% owned. I mean, what's the difference between the two? You know what I mean? Like, how big is the gap projection? That's the key. That's the thing I want to look at. Like, one thing the other day, Giannis had 60 fantasy point projection. KD had a 50 fantasy point projection. Do I want to take a 10 projection drop off for the ownership difference? Probably not. I don't think I want to do it there. I'll just pull up like one that I see right now. Right now, I currently see Trae Young for literally more fantasy points than Ja Morant, and he's less of a price tag. And like, maybe the reason why is because Trae is the only guy there. You know what I mean? Like, he is the guy. So the point I'm getting at is, like, I think ownership is so key on these slates with like little small decisions. Like, and that's definitely one that I think you have to think through. I don't think you can just say it's clearly X player. Like, no doubt, ownership is going to be very key for these top studs.
All right, and this show is not going very linear today, but I think this is a perfect segue. Let's jump into that first game. I'm here for the Trae bounce back game, right? The guy's been great in the playoffs before. It's not like it's a 3-game sample. This is like his 18th playoff game that he's going to be in, right? First time ever being shut down like that. The guy thrives on the big stage. He's virtually unguardable when he gets hot, because what are you going to do when he's shooting from that deep? I think he's a great opportunity to bounce back tonight. That being said, I think the Heat are so good they could absorb a 34-point and 12-assist performance from Trae Young and still cover the spread. Do you see what I'm saying, Mangone?
Yes, I do. Sadly, I see.
So
what you're saying.
I like Trae better than Ja tonight, and I feel bad because I'm against the chat, and it seems like in almost everything, it seems like everybody likes Ja more than Trae tonight. I like Trae more than Ja tonight for DFS. I think he has a bounce back night. I just don't know if it's enough. Go ahead, break this one down.
No, good points that you're bringing up. I do think they kind of called the dogs off early because, like, hey, they were getting blown out. And could they do that again because they're just like, hey, let's get back home and get right? Yeah, I think they could. What do you think John Collins' minutes and status will be? Do you think he randomly goes into the starting lineup today?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I was going to ask you that. You're so much better at navigating these things. I noticed.
I'll admit I don't know.
I'm on Thursday. Why am I on Thursday? For tonight, he's not even on the report, is he?
Yeah,
no, I'm on Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. Why am I so far ahead? I'm getting too far ahead of myself. So, but I still don't see him on the report tonight. I see Bogey on the report. I see Bam on the report. PJ Tucker, he's not sitting. Why do they put these guys on the report?
I don't know why they're on the report. It makes no sense, but.
All right. Yeah, but I don't even see him on the report tonight. I think you got to go with him. I think that the problem that the Hawks had was the lack of athleticism, right? Like, I love your guy Gallinari, and I love the T-shirt. Man, the guy's playing YMC ball in a league full of ballers.
Who is?
Pure athletes. Gallinari.
Oh.
He's the old, slow guy that knows how to play basketball, right? That makes all his shots, that, is in the right place.
Yeah, he's got the old man strength. Everyone's like, like when you're picking teams, right? And you get put on the one team, you go, okay, our team's pretty good. And we got the old guy that gets the job done somehow all the time. So it's like, you feel good.
We got to get the Hawks have to get more athletic tonight if they're going to cover the spread, and I think John Collins is a huge key there. What's so funny is I'm so high on Okongwu for regular season minutes. I felt that he was outplaying Capella during the regular season, but I really think you missed his veteran presence here tonight, Clint Capella, because as good as Okongwu is, I think that Capella was much better at at holding his position, understanding his role within the defense, and really being able to be that anchor. And Okongwu's showing flashes, but he's also showing flashes of being able to be exploited by making mental mistakes. And it's not because, he's not sharp or he doesn't have a high basketball IQ. He just lacks the experience that Capella has. They need Collins out there. They need to be quicker. They're already lacking in athleticism in so many positions. If Collins is back out there, that's a big boost. I just, as much as I want to get on Atlanta to bounce back, I didn't want this series to suck. I wanted it to be a great series. It's just hard for me to get there here. Do you have any ways that you can convince me? Because right now it just seems like I want to lay the Heat again.
Yeah, it's hard. I wanted Capella in. I need Collins healthy too. Like it feels like there's like a lot to overcome for the Hawks. And spread, like I wanted that plus money. I thought it was interesting. I'm not out here making a minus 110 bet on them. Like I thought 5-1 would be interesting. But once I saw Capella go down, I was like, I don't know if I can pull this trigger anymore. And I didn't. I was like, let me watch game one. They're likely not going to win game one. Like I had someone come at me on
better
Twitter.
Number.
Like, yeah, I had someone come at me on Twitter and be like, see, the Hawks suck. Like, I'm like, yeah, we've watched one game. Like, relax. Like, let's see what happens. I'm curious to see how they bounce back. This team is definitely one that they've faced adversity before, right? Spread, like, reminder spread, they beat the 76ers last year. Of course.
Yeah.
They were more healthy, different 76ers team, not one with Harden. It's a little bit of a different scenario. But the point I want to get at here is this is not a team of just scrubs. I think people are just writing them off completely. I think they're going to steal a game. I don't know which game it is. I'm hoping we see Collins just look right, like tonight. That would be something that I'd be excited about, and then I maybe want to get on them. So I think that's going to be key. I want him to start. And someone asked in the chat, they said, what am I doing with Collins tonight? It was Richie Smalls. I don't know what to do without knowing if he's starting. If he is starting at that price, he's a great play. Like he played 21 minutes. I do think you'll see his minutes go up even more. So I think that Collins, definitely a good play. On top of that, they got blown out, right? So like, could have Collins played more than 21 minutes? And he also came off the bench. So you have to calculate that too in as well. So if he starts and the game is close, Collins' minutes will be really strong. So I want to like him a lot. Another thing I want to like is I do think the Heat are going to try and force that ball out of Trae Young's hands. Now, sometimes he doesn't care and he still gets the job done. But I think Kevin Huerter, a lot is key with him. He's going to see that Max Struss matchup more than likely, right? Spread. And he has to attack. He has to be aggressive. I think that's really important in this series. Do you agree or disagree on that?
Oh, it's huge. And I think Bogdanovic is another one because they just need secondary creation, right? If they can just focus on Trae, we could see a sequel. And I guess I'm just really high on him. I just don't see him getting knocked out 2 games in a row, right? It'd be like, if Tyler like misses 2 picks, like I think he's going to come back with 2 winners the very next day. And look at him, fresh off the injury report, right? I'm having visions, and I don't remember this because I'm not that old, but Willis Reed limping in 1972 out to lead the Knicks to a victory. Just his presence inspired the crowd. We're inspired to see you, Tyler. How you feeling?
I feel fine, but I just wasn't taking the chance of what happened last night. Yeah. You know how tooth pains are. You'd rather somebody just shoot you in the head and just get it over with. Like, it's the worst pain in the world. And
I mean, Tyler, that's the only bad part about
the only thing that could take it away,
George.
Spread, last night was if I drank a little bit of water and let it sit in the corner of my mouth, all the pain would go away. So now I was playing the game of last night trying to leave this little puddle of water in my mouth and fall asleep. And every time I doze off, it would start to come out of my mouth and wake me right back up. So I was up all night.
Finally, the chat's recommending bourbon, Tyler, and now we're seeing the downfall of that super fast metabolism. You can eat all that candy without getting fat. But we're we're so happy to see you here. We're on the Hawks. Well, I'll get your thought on the Grizzlies in a bit. We're on the Hawks and the Heat right now. Break it down for us because Travis and I kind of think Trae Young bounces back, but we don't know if it's going to be enough to cover the 7.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Heat smash him again. I mean, yes, he could have a bounce back game, but what are the other pieces going to do in this matchup? Like a Huerter, I don't see him doing much of anything.
Oh, see, I'm on the other side on Huerter. I think Huerter has a big night. I just think he has an easy matchup. He just has to attack.
Who's his easy matchup, though?
He's getting Struss, right?
I mean, that's not an easy
matchup.
Struss
is pretty good defensively. I think that's how I made the starting lineup.
There's one easy matchup on that team.
I shouldn't say
Duncan Robinson.
Easy matchup.
Hero.
Easy matchup is the
Hero tries on defense.
Easy matchup is the wrong word, Tyler. I should say he's got one of the more favorable matchups, so the ball will be funneled to him more. That's the point. So opportunities there, and I think that's what I look at in DFS a lot is opportunity. And he's 4.5K, so I think there's some really good Hawks price tag. I just want to, before you kind of finish your breakdown, Tyler, I want to talk about these prices on like this game in general. 4.5 on Huerter. Hunter's 4.4. I like Huerter more. Gallinari 4.9. He's a good fantasy point per minute producer, but I don't love the matchup. Bogdanovic is 5.3. Like the spot, but obviously I worry about the minutes because he doesn't start, so he naturally can lose minutes compared to the other guys. And then Collins at 5.1. If he starts, I think he's in a great spot. Don't love a Kongwu's price at 5K. And on the Heat side, PJ Tucker, he'll play a pile of minutes, 3.9, still in play if you need values. Same with Max Struss at 4.1. And Kyle Lowry at 6.3. That's a sneaky nice, like, safe floor ceiling combination that I think is worth going at. So there's a lot of good price tags in this game.
And then there's the worry about the blowout too, right? Do you think that
Yep.
keeps ownership down, Travis?
Well, I think some people are going to be like kind of worried about these Hawks to jump on them. But again, I think I'm riding Herder. I'm going to listen to the Up the Lock show with JSU and Big T and hear and see what they got. I just think that Herder is going to be a guy that I'll be able to plug in at my shooting guard spot and be pretty excited about. So I'm definitely on him for this game.
Yeah, so Tyler, I mean, it's like I like the Hawks here. I want this to be a good series. We really liked this matchup when we were doing the preview shows. I'm having problems like, getting that, path to victory where the Hawks even covered this spread. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think Miami smashes them again. I mean, Jimmy Butler, who's going to guard Jimmy? He's going to get anything he wants. He's going to draw all the fouls. His point prop at 22.5, I think, is a bit low. He had 21 in the last game. And you think about it, they blew him out of the water, and he just stopped shooting late in that game.
Right.
This game gets any closer, he's going to blow that number out of the water. Bam only played 21 minutes in that game too, spread. You got to think his minutes tick up. So that just means better defense for Miami and less offense for Atlanta. I think they're going to absolutely smash them. I think they beat them by about 10. And some of these player performance double, like Jimmy Butler, 2+ steals and win. How often do we see a steals performance double? Not often. And I think this is one of them spots where you can catch a lot of passes in the passing lanes. So that 2+ steals, Miami win plus 160. And then I would play his 25+ points and win at plus 200.
Who's 25+ points?
Jimmy
Bam?
Butler.
Oh, Butler. Okay. No doubles on Bam though, huh?
His double and wins plus 154. I don't hate it, but the only thing that does worry me is those 21 minutes. They should tick up here, but we never know what Spoelstra's going to do.
All right. Travis, anything more on this one?
Yeah, I'm hoping Trae Young rises to the occasion. He loves going up against the other teams. Keep in mind, like the Garden, right? It was just like the most electric place, and he was up against everyone. And what did he do? He took that W home. So I'm hoping he can come home and take a W tonight. Not like it'd be my best bet or anything. It's more so me being hopeful. Like I do want to see it a little bit more from the Hawks.
I do. I would love for this series to be good, man. I thought that was one of the most disappointing things of the weekend, right? Because we're going to get to the next game right now, the Pelicans and the Suns, and I know the Pelicans made the late push to cover. But let's be honest.
Do you give a pass a little bit for like they played a couple playing games, right? They lost Capella. They just got Collins back. Like I kind of give like game one as a pass. I'm like, I want to see something in game two. If I don't see something in game two, we can bury him, right?
I guess so. But in the last breakdown, when we talked about Memphis and Minnesota, we used it as an edge for Minnesota. The fact that they were coming off, a hard-fought game. They were already in playoff mode, and they were playing against a team that was chilling. Now,
they didn't suffer an injury to like one of their I shouldn't say key pieces, but like Capella does matter.
He's the anchor of their defense.
What?
He's the anchor of the defense. Center is the quarterback of your defense.
Yeah, I mean, it just changes stuff, right? Like I don't like. That's why like I'm not excited about maybe Ben Simmons jumping onto the Nets team and just like randomly starting to like change stuff up. I hate when you add like a random guy into the mix. Now it's a little different with the Hawks. They've had those guys, but when you lose a piece like Capella, it's just losing like an option when you're playing chess on the court, right? Like you just lost a piece, and that's frustrating. So yeah. And we just got news that Luka could return Thursday. So if you want to slam some bets right now, it's the time.
Let's go. Mavericks +2, whatever I got them at. So Matt Smith says we're overreacting to game one. I don't think we're reacting to game one. I think we're reacting to the fact that this team's hobbled.
If you forced me to pick a side tonight's spread, like I had to bet on a side, I would bet on the Hawks side, but I would wait until tip off. That's 100% what I would do. Wait till that happens, because I think the line will keep going the way towards the Hawks. Like, so if I had to make a bet, that's what I would bet. But like, I don't have any like strong conviction on it.
All right. I was going to talk about defense again, because I know this is what you're laughing about, we the people. But we're going to keep the show on the road. New Orleans Pelicans, they almost covered, right? They lost by 11, plus 10.5. They were down by 23 at one point. Didn't seem like a close game. Give them credit. They had heart. They kept fighting. But, boy, this Phoenix Suns team is one of the best teams in the NBA. And then, of course, Robert's been telling me about this all day, so I got to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to put into that, but I don't think we can discount it. Tyler, we'll start with you. How are you approaching the Pelicans and the Phoenix Suns?
I can't remember. Is it Scott Foster and CP3 that hate each other? Or is it the Tony brothers and CP3 that hate each other? Or is
They're
it both?
both on there tonight.
Oh, God.
They're both there.
All right, so that throws a little wrench into the Knights game, but I mean, I think Phoenix still wins. That kind of makes it weird for the 10, though, because I could definitely see them getting backdoored on some shenanigans. But I mean, I'm going to go right back to that Booker points plus assist prop at 31.5. Just like last time, he can get you this in just points. And if they're putting Herb Jones on him, he's going to get 4 to 5 assists because he's going to have to dish out of some shots. And then CP3's 27.5 on his points plus assist. It's way lower than what he put up last game. The Scott Foster thing does kind of scare me, but they just don't have a good matchup for him in that backcourt, so he should put up another big game. And then looking at some of these player performance doubles in that game spread, let's see. We got Chris Paul's double-double and win is -110. I'm staying away from that. You could do Booker 3+ threes and Phoenix wins at +112. Or you could do Devin Booker 30+ and win at +160. That'd be some ways I'd come at this game.
All right. Now, Travis, you are a master and commander at navigating narratives. How do we approach this ref narrative? How much does it affect your handicap when you hear the news that it's Scott Foster and Tony Brothers? That's like a Batman and Robin here of referee news. How do we approach this?
Did the NBA bring them in to like save the day and just like make it so this?
Does anyone care about this series? Like, what are we saving?
I mean, maybe they want to put a little bit more money in their pockets for one more game. You know what I mean? Maybe they want to.
So we can see Zion sitting on the bench with that ridiculous Flavor Flav clock around his neck. I would be embarrassed to be flashing that much bling when I haven't done anything in the NBA. Unbelievable. The guy does not have a PR team. I'm sorry. I'm going way off track. How do we approach this game?
Yeah, Spread's being a boomer too, making fun of chains. But I will say this, Spread. Zion is a professional basketball player that does not play basketball. He's one of those. He's in that club. So I'm down to bash him. I like to bash Ben Simmons. We can bash Zion. I'm certainly okay with it. Let's just talk about this game from a DFS perspective. Betting wise, I think the Suns are the play. I was talking to one of my chats and my one buddy, he brought up a good point. I feel like I'm watching a 1 seed play a 16 seed in NCAA, right? It definitely felt that way. The Pelicans surged a little bit at one point, but when they put Bridges on CJ McCollum, he was not getting buckets, right? Like, I mean, he was absolutely getting locked up. I think they have a good plan for Ingram. It seems like they're like, whenever he gets the ball, you know, they let him have it and Jay Crowder's on him and they hedge a quick double team on him to either force it out of his hands or he forces up a bad shot. And then I think Jonas Valanciunas, he's the guy DFS wise that is going to absolutely eat in these matchups because the Suns want to play with Ayton on the floor, right? Like they want to do that. And if Ayton's on the floor, who on earth can the Pelicans counter with in a small ball lineup? Like, let's say Ayton's out there and your plan is we're in trouble, Spread. We're the Pelicans. We're in trouble. We need to go small ball. Who on earth do you put on the court to do that?
One thing you don't do is you don't put Jackson Hayes out there. Those minutes were absolutely brutal.
Correct. And then if you put Larry Nance out there, were those minutes fine on the offensive end? Yes. But when you attack him defensively, good luck. Chris Paul is just going to smash. So I honestly think, I don't know what they're going to be.
I would rather have Nance out there, though. I think Nance can do better. He's been better defender than what we saw.
I'm sort of with you on that. Like, I'm wondering when they make that adjustment, because the second they make that adjustment, Valanciunas loses minutes, right? So, like, that's the big concern. But if you promise me Ayton is out there for 30+ minutes tonight, Spread, Valanciunas is out for 30+ minutes, I want Valanciunas all day because CJ can't get the bucket, right? Because he's got Bridges on. It's going to be difficult. Ingram gets that hedge double team and they force it to Val. And what do? They just sag off and say, have your crappy 2-pointer, go for it. When he gets his rebounds on Ayton, he just puts it right back up. He doesn't pass it out. He just literally goes right back up. So, I mean, he is going to smash from a DFS perspective, in my opinion. I think his props are good betting as long as you tell me that's what they go with. The second they switch to that small ball, if they do, that is the major concern. But I think Val is a great DFS play at 7.5K and something that I want to play. I think CP3 is another great one. Kevin said it in the chat. CP3 said he heard all of Willie's defensive calls and knew exactly what to do, and that's correct. It's exactly what he said. And CP is going to destroy.
Why would you say that? Why wouldn't you just keep it in your back pocket?
Because Chris Paul don't care. He knows this series is over. I mean, come on, that's confidence. So you can do whatever you want on me. He's saying, I don't care. I'm going to get buckets, and that's what he's going to do.
So you're just going to say, hey guys, change your defensive calls because I have this huge advantage, and I'm just giving it away to you.
What if they really don't have another scheme though, and now they're just kind of winging it?
All you have to do is change your terminology.
I mean, you know how coaches are; they're stuck in their ways.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope Willie Green's better than that. But Travis, I mean, I'm ready to vote for you for Congress. The way you danced around the questions. Does Scott Foster and Tony Brothers matter? Does it change your handicap at all?
Not really. I mean, I don't know how much to equate that into it. I still think the Suns I think they're so dominant. Like, I just think this team is so good. So, no, it's not going to change my handicap spread. If I had to pick like a best bet today, it'd probably be the Suns, even though I'm giving all those points.
You're going to have to. Spoiler alert, we're going to expect that.
I know. I'm not excited about this card from a betting perspective. Like,
I wasn't either, and I went yesterday and I went 3-0. I mean, my biggest regret was that I didn't put the freaking plays on the sheet. So
I get it. It happens, but I like it from a DFS perspective. I think it's more. I really like this card for DFS. I think it's really interesting. I can't wait to see how it kind of shakes out. But CP3 as a guy I'm going to have in DFS. Like, I'm going to load up on him. I think he's like the best stud on the slate. Like, if you told me Trae Young or Ja Morant, like, give me CP3 instead for way cheaper, I'll take him.
So you think, I mean, what did he have? Like, it was like 32, 10, 7, and like 3 steals or something. I mean, the guy filled up the sheet.
He can just get whatever he wants. And like, it's playoff CP3. Like, he's just going to be more expensive. I'm just going to keep playing him. So I'm going to play CP. I think you can go back to Jay Crowder, but like, you don't need to. He's definitely chalky the other slate. I think Devin Booker at 8-8 is someone that's going to get slept on and like lost in the shuffle a little bit. And like, honestly, you could just say, I don't need to play Trae. I don't need to play Ja Morant. Like, give me Booker and CP, and I'm just going to eat. Like, I don't think it's the worst idea. It'll be very contrarian. No one's going to just load up both of them. So I think both of them can definitely get the job done here in this spot. I don't love Ayton. I'd prefer Valanciunas, like I said. I don't mind Cam Johnson off the bench. Just worry about minutes. Like, one thing I look at in these playoffs, like, if you're starting to play, like, let's say Collins is off the bench, right? You put Collins in there. Let's say you also put a Bogdanovich, and then you put in, like, a Cam Johnson. Like, we're putting too many bench guys in, right? Like, I want to make sure minutes are on my teams. When I look at my team, I want to see a pile of minutes in the playoffs. So that's something to think about, too, when you're building out your lineups. And I don't mind going back to Jay Crowder, like I said. I think it's uncomfortable a bit, but I think the ownership will be back down some, which is perfectly fine. And the guy on the Pelicans to maybe take a shot on, Larry Nance off the bench, definitely don't hate it. Think he's interesting. Herb Jones is going to get his minutes. And then if you are playing the showdown slate and you're looking for like an absolute crapper, like Trey Murphy's kind of in play. Again, not my favorite play in the world, but if you're looking for a cheap guy from this game on the showdown slate because you want to jam in all these studs, I think Trey Murphy's an interesting option that will be lower on.
All right. Tyler, do you have anything more on this game?
No, I think we hit it right on the head with this game. I mean, Mangone touched on a lot of it. You touched on it. I touched on it. There ain't much else to touch on in this one.
Okay, so Mangone's not ready for the best bet. So while he
I'm here for it. Like I know.
I'm just messing with you. But we got to hear Tyler's thoughts here before we give that out. Let's hear his breakdown of Memphis and Minnesota.
I think it's going to be another good game. I think that spread's way too high, though. I think Minnesota.
Okay, so we're opposite then. I like Memphis.
I think that number should be like 3 every game. Like, what's the giant difference in these teams? Think about it. Like, where is the giant like outlier? There really isn't one. They're both young. They're both built pretty. Like, I know Memphis is more defensively sound than Minnesota, but Minnesota played great defense all year. Both teams have guys that can score in bunches. Like, they're pretty much the same team to me. One just has a better record. Laying 7, I got to take the dog, but I think Memphis does win the game tonight.
All right, well, one of us will be taking a victory lap tomorrow because we are opposite on that. Did you have player performance doubles for that?
I don't, but the only one I would look at would be like a Ja Morant 30-plus or 35-plus. I mean,
you think he goes off again? He had 32 and 8
He's coming out and just gunning this whole game.
Tyler, is there a player performance double for Valanciunas for 20-plus and they lose? Do those exist? Can we create?
No, we tried to do that before. You have to make them manually. You can't do it. You just parlay his points prop and the Phoenix money line.
I just wanted to point out that they suck, and that's all.
Travis, last narrative-based question before the best bets. So we saw John Morant. First, he takes notes on Twitter. Then he's posting videos from the Jordan documentary where Jordan explains that it's just one game. People overreact to one game. Let's see what really happens. How do you affect your projections when a guy's out there posting like that on social media, Travis? How do we approach that?
Oh, I'm all about that life spread. Like listen, Ja's a chip on the shoulder guy. It seems like I love those kind of players. So, definitely in on it. I like Memphis tonight for sure. And I just want to bring up one thing in the chat. Gregory Russo says someone like Boston. I wonder who it was, Mangone. Gregory Russo, we have a long series ahead, my friend. We will talk oh gosh. I mean, again, like that's going to be a fun series. We already talked about it. If you want to go watch the beginning, we discussed it a ton. It's going to be a lot of fun, but that's one I'm taking notes, Greg. Took my notes right now.
Oh, just like Ja.
Yeah, we'll talk when we hit game 5 and game 6 where it really starts to get interesting. I mean, it's going to be fun. So I can't wait for that series. Definitely going to be exciting. And overall, the playoffs, there's been some good games. There's been some bad games, but I'm just pumped we're watching playoff basketball.
Yeah, it's great. And you know what I like is we have our chat commitment to fitness. I mean, these guys are ready to take the victory lap whenever, right? They're not sitting on the couch. They're ready to get out there.
I don't want to jump too early, spread. Like I like to wait, let it marinate because I want to be on the right side. Like I want to make sure that I don't like jump the gun and then I take the victory lap because then you're just going to come back over the top on me. So I'm gonna take the notes, wait and see, and I hope I don't have to end up taking my L. And I'm excited to see. I really think Robert Williams is coming back. Spread. Tyler, can I get that take from you? Is Robert Williams coming back in that series?
He'll be back by game 5.
Who's back first, Simmons or Williams?
Williams.
When Robert Williams comes back, things definitely change for me. So this series is like, I feel like I'm watching the finals between Boston and the Nets.
Oh, Joey Wert's got a great point, man. I'm not really really hardcore about this like you, Travis, but come on, 100 watching, 27 likes. Tyler's in here straight from the hospital. He had to have like a police escort because he wasn't able to drive on the way over here just to make it back to the show on time. Guys, show us some love, like the video. Share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel. So, Tyler, we're going to be on opposite sides, but we got to hear the best bet. We'll start with you. What's your best bet for today?
I'm going to take that Jimmy Butler over 22.5 points. He got the 21 last game, and they blew him out of the water. Mm-hmm. God forbid Atlanta keeps it a little bit closer this game. He's going to get up over 25.
All right, Travis, best bet for today, side total or prop?
Yeah, definitely not excited about it, but I'd say Suns -9.5. That's the side I would go with. I like the Grizzlies to win if you're like doing some kind of like parlays and stuff with like 3 teams to get it to like the plus 100, which some people do sometimes. You could put Memphis on it. I think that's a team that gets the job done tonight, but not the most exciting card from a betting perspective. I won't be loading the boat on that, but DFS wise, I'm pretty excited about this slate.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see all the cores you guys have over at runpuresports.com. Promo code GETBETS. My best bet for today. And I feel bad, man, because I'm going against the chat. I'm going against the panel. If it wouldn't get us kicked off YouTube, I'd just start playing the Tupac Me Against the World right now. But I'm going for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I know that, Tyler, you made a great point that you thought that each of these games should be -3. And I do understand where you're coming from there. Of course, running the numbers all year, I see how much better Memphis is. And did they run that up by getting a bunch of 20-point wins? Yeah, they probably did. Did the Timberwolves finish the season with a tougher schedule than the Grizzlies, kind of dropping their net rating a little bit? Yeah, they did. But as I told Travis before, to me, this has the feel of a great series without a bunch of great games. Right, where it's going to be 1-1 going back to Minnesota. We're going to be really excited, but it's going to be another blowout. That game didn't go down to the wire. It wasn't like Boston and Brooklyn, right? I mean, we had a pretty good idea who was going to win for most of the fourth quarter there, and I have a feeling it's like that tonight. Memphis came out so slowly. They gave up 41 points in the first half. I expect to see a much better defensive performance off the bat. I do think the team was rusty, especially in their ability to communicate, switch, and I also do think that Taylor Jenkins will be able to make the proper adjustments going forward to slow down this team. Also, as much as I love Anthony Edwards, I don't know if I'm necessarily sold on him being a consistent night in and night out performer. I hope he gets there. If I lose the bet, I won't even be that mad because I personally like Minnesota more as a team. Because you know me, like I'm the biggest Anthony Edwards fan, right? What'd you say, Tyler? I saw one interview and all of a sudden I'm the biggest fan.
Yeah, at first you didn't like him though.
Yeah, and then I
remember those days.
And I think you were the one who sent it to me. He said, check out this interview. And he's like, he talked about he's going to be the best golfer. He's going to beat Michael Phelps in swimming. And she goes, are you good at, are you going to be good at tennis? He's like, A1 from day one. And I'm like, sold.
Yep.
Sold. You can go to WWE as soon as you're done with this. I love those personality-based promos. And the kids on ESPN yesterday talking about he's the best defender in the league. Like, so I'm sure Marcus Smart's probably taking notes there if they ever meet up. But what a wonderful time that we have right now going on in the National Basketball Association. Not a better time to become a member of Run Pure Sports, get access to the cores, get access to all the best bets. Tyler's doing same game parlays. He gives out a home run parlay at the end of the show, but that's a combination of 3 games. He's also giving out the members a personal same game parlay. Well, I don't know if personal is the right word, right? But a specific same game parlay for each game to go in. So let's say it busts out, right? Well, it does bust out all the time. He's giving out 28 to 1. He doesn't win every single time, right? But you got a chance to get right back in there. And the amount of success, I mean, I wish we had been tracking this, maybe I'll find some time. I doubt I will to go back and find out how many units your parlays are up, but it's been fantastic. And maybe, I don't know, either I'll track it or we'll get a hold of the IRS and one of us will figure it out. But anyways, excellent work, Tyler. But after, cutting that promo, just like Ann Edwards, we're waiting for one. Do you have one for the people?
I do. It's going to be Jimmy Butler, 25 plus points in Miami wins. Mm-hmm. Ja Morant, 30 plus in Memphis wins, and Devin Booker, 30 plus in Phoenix wins, 18 to 1.
All right. I love it. And Travis, I'm still waiting back. My agent reached out to your agent, man. I'm trying to get a spot on that morning show. So next time it's available, I want to be on that guest list, man. It's a great thing that you're doing over there. For the people who don't know, why don't you let everyone know what goes on at 11 a.m. Eastern time?
Yeah, Spread, I'll definitely have you on at some point. We'll talk some NBA. I'll pick a spot for sure. Maybe we'll get Tyler on too. We talk NBA. Well, not NBA. We talk DFS and just normal sports. Depends on the day and what's going on. Today we did some NBA. Yesterday we did baseball review with Hoop. Tomorrow is DC baseball and then also DC baseball on Thursday. We got some morning slates, so that'll be a lot of fun. 11 a.m. Free on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. So check that out and check me out in 8 minutes on the MLB Swing for the Fences show with Hoop and DC pretty shortly.
Hardest working man in the DFS business. We thank you for taking the time. Tyler, I already know there's no words of wisdom coming from you, so I'll give them to everybody tonight. Enjoy the NBA playoffs. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. What a lively chat today. I like to get you guys involved. Oh, I got to give out We the People's best bet. He's got Bane 20 plus and the win. He's with me on Memphis. All right, it's not me against the world. It's we against the world. Let's go, We the People. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. RunPureSports.com. Promo code GetBets. Join it. Run Pure.